Yo, what's going on, Arkansas Razorback fans? SEC fans, what's going on? Welcome to the Tusk Talk with Ty. Let's get that straightened out. There we go. You can kind of see the belt. You kind of see the belt right there. The reflection, it's glaring. Hey, make sure you guys do me a favor. Like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification bell. That way you know when your boy's about to go live. How about we do that? We've got a lot. We got a lot over there. We're gonna turn this into something today. That's for sure. Shout out to all the LSU fans who, man, with every single triggering response that they had, every single one of them, it was good reading. It definitely didn't dumb down the comment section. Oh man, even in a win, when you tip the cap and tell them, "Hey, good job, you guys won, fantastic, great," tip the cap. It's still, yeah. OBS is struggling here. Let me know if you guys. I don't know if it's connected or not. Okay, don't know what that's all about. I think it's up and going. There we go. It froze, but it's good now. There we go. I don't know, it just does that randomly. It'll just drop for a second, and then it comes right back. So anyways, shout out to ASN Facebook for hosting over there on Facebook. Make sure you guys like and follow them as well. We have a poll up. Arkansas offense so far, look at this, it's kind of even. The Arkansas offense so far, good, not so good, bad actually. 50% of you say it's good. And please, I would love to know why you believe that Arkansas's offense so far has been good. Let me know down below in the comments section if that's your pick. Let me know why. A little surprised by that. Kind of figured the not so good or bad actually would be at the top. I think by the end of the show it probably will be. All right. Direct Service Overhead, the sponsor. Shout out to them as well. Same-day services, quality parts, affordable outcomes, better than best results. Give them a call today at 501-244-3667. Same-day services. They got your back. Free estimates. Give them a call. They'll come out and give you a hand. So, all right, Ty Vandy is ranked before us, shaking my head. But Vandy is deserving of it, though, right? I mean, I don't know how good or bad some of their wins are. Like, when this all started with Virginia Tech, and it's really they've not really let up. So congrats to Vanderbilt. We'll get to we'll start there with the SEC, around the SEC, and just what exactly happened this week. Pretty fascinating. Of course, we know Arkansas got smoked pretty good by 24 points against LSU. What was that spread? LSU by like a few points. Golly, 34-10. Georgia over Texas. Made it look pretty easy. There was some controversy in that game. Quarterbacks getting benched, or a quarterback getting benched. Georgia walks away 30-15. Alabama loses to Tennessee. Who would have thought Tennessee would be 2-2 in SEC play? Tennessee wins that game 24-17. That win's looking good for Arkansas, at least. A&M beats Mississippi State. Mississippi State is good enough that they hang around. That offense appears to be getting better. So we're going to break that game down on Thursday night. That's when we'll do that. But A&M did find a way, 34-24. Auburn loses to Mizzou, although it looked like for a while Auburn might run away with that game. It looked like Auburn might run away, and then Missouri found a way, and they they stuck around. They battled their way back into the ball game and end up winning 21-17. So again, Auburn is like, they're good enough to just lose. That's just what they do. They're good enough to lose. They're 0-4 in conference play. I also didn't see that coming. Missouri 2-1 now in conference play, 6-1. South Carolina beat the brakes off of Oklahoma. Holy cow. 35-9. Vanderbilt smokes Ball State 24-14. Ball State's not a very good team. They're 1-4 in their conference, 2-5 overall. Vanderbilt's not a high octane offense, but Pavia is just so fun to watch. And then Florida manhandles Kentucky 48-20. Speaking of Florida, Courtney Mims herself, she will be on the Wednesday show, 6 p.m. Courtney Mims, you know her from Ask Mike. She does an outstanding job. Can't wait to have her on. It's going to be a lot of fun. From Pig Trail Nation, that's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, there you go. So the SEC right now, I mean, here we were thinking, here's a shot for Arkansas to maybe start off with just one loss at this point in the season in conference play. Not the case. A&M is undefeated in conference play at 4-0. LSU 3-0, also undefeated. Georgia 4-1. Tennessee 3-1. Mizzou 2-1, along with Texas and Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt has less losses than you do, but they've only played 3 conference games. Alabama 2-2, Arkansas 2-2, Florida 2-2, South Carolina 2-3. Ole Miss 1-2 in conference. That looks weird. It looks weird seeing 5-2 already next to their name. Just looks weird. Oklahoma, who's been, I'm going to own up to it. I was dead wrong on Oklahoma. I said, well, that's an 8-4, 9-3 SEC team, I think. Just simply because of the talent that they have. Venables, another year under his belt. I kind of felt like Oklahoma would be okay. Man, they're 1-3 in conference play. They're finding out. Now, I didn't say they would finish great in the SEC. I knew the SEC would get a hold of them. Did not expect a 1-3 start in their first 4 SEC games. Kentucky at 1-4, Auburn at 0-4, Mississippi State 0-4. Mississippi State is getting, like I said, they're getting better week to week. They're not winning games, but they're starting to put it together. If I give opinion, it seems like we can't get offense. We can't get offense tackles and defensive tackles. So you're talking about recruiting, Angel? Is that what you're? Yeah, they swung and missed in the portal for some tackles. Carmona's been about what I thought he would be, if I'm being honest. He's not been terrible. Enos averaged more points when he got fired than Bobby Petrino per Phil and MJ. The offense is a joke, says Camo Gang. Donovan Irish, JQ being injured really worries me, but Mississippi State also ranks. Yeah, their run defense is atrocious. Again, we break down the opponent on Thursday shows, but yeah, their run defense is putrid. It's bad. Russell needs to go off, but LSU also sucks butt at rush defense. Their fans will tell you otherwise. They're elite. LSU's defense is elite. No, they've gotten better. Make no mistake about it. Weeks is getting settled in at LSU. They're figuring things out now that they don't have to worry about their star player on defense who's trying to figure out where he needs to settle in on defense. Weeks has been fantastic for LSU. Their defense has gotten better, without a doubt. I would venture to say they're probably a top 4 defense in the SEC. Okay, again, LSU fans will tell you they're elite. They're elite. They have no issues, despite the fact they've given up a lot of yards in SEC play. Their secondary's been cheeks all year long. Let's not forget you did start the season losing to USC, but they have gotten better week to week. I said this a couple of weeks ago. This could be that no, this is last week when I said this. This might be what happened with LSU this year. What's happening might be similar to what happened to Arkansas back in 2006. We knew Arkansas was better than they were, and now they got manhandled against USC. Arkansas did. They lost bad in Fayetteville to USC. But then they went on and won. Look what they did in the SEC play. It was great. LSU, this could be that year for them. Or, they could also win a national championship. Like, that's the caliber of team LSU's capable of putting on the field. I'm not saying that they are. I wouldn't put them in the top 4, but I certainly think they're top 8, but you're kind of splitting hairs at that point, I guess. Angel says average. So, again, take the poll. Make sure you guys like the video here. Share the content. Subscribe if you haven't already. Look, football's getting to that point now where people are ready to move on because I think a lot of people believe they've seen the writing on the wall. Tennessee game might have been fool's gold. Maybe. Freshman quarterback, T. Will game planned perfectly for that game, and that was easy to execute against the freshman quarterback, redshirt freshman quarterback, but still, it might have been fool's gold. You might be exactly what you were when you struggled to beat UAB. Arkansas might be exactly who they were when they fell apart in the second half to Oklahoma State, right? That might be who they are. They really could go on the road next weekend and lose. We talk about what has a seat at the table, right? We talk about that winning just one more game has a seat at the table. Of course, that one game would probably be Louisiana Tech, right? I'm not saying it's going to happen before you crucify me. But this could be the case, right? Tennessee could have been fool's gold. I stand by what I said on Saturday, and I'm surprised I didn't get skewered more by Razorback fans when I called out the fact that more fans need to stop making up all these excuses for Sam Pitman. Someone told me later in where was that? Was that Discord or group chat? I don't remember. Someone told me that, what'd you expect, Arkansas to blow LSU out? No. I expected to not get curb stomped coming off a bye week. Your homecoming. Pitman was 3-0. I kept saying 4-0. I guess that's just wishful thinking. He's 3-0 and coming out of bye weeks. Yeah, I wanted them to not get curb stomped. I would have been fine. We would have griped about losing a close game, but we know that's still a better look. We know LSU's a good team. We know LSU really could be a team that goes deep into the playoffs. I have a hard time with that just simply because of who their head coach is, and I do think they have some issues on defense. However, they looked really, really good on defense versus Arkansas because Arkansas, again, can't get out of their own way. Stupid penalties, interceptions, things like that, turning the ball over as often as they do. And, again, you got to give LSU credit for that too. They're in the right spot at the right time. Luck oftentimes favors the prepared. LSU was prepared. They looked like they look like a team that's going to make the playoffs. I'll just say that. I'm not saying that they will. I do think they're probably going to lose at least one more game. Lack of talent at O-line, lack of depth at running back. Russell going to be great, but not ready to carry the load when Jackson gets hurt, and he seems to get hurt every play. Jackson, God bless him. It's got to be frustrating. It's got to be frustrating for his family. I feel for him. But that guy, it feels like every other time he touches the ball, he's hurt. I don't know at Utah if that was maybe they knew that was probably a symptom of his or something that he does is he gets hurt a lot. Sometimes just the luck of the draw. We know he's been dealing with an ankle and shoulder injury, right? Is it shoulder and ankle? I think that's right. And sometimes that just happens. Football's a physical game, and he's not the only guy to do it. We could go over a list of running backs that struggled with injuries. Sometimes that's the luck of the draw. These guys that somehow survive or get through these injuries quicker, they come back faster. Jaquindon just – it's like, man, I don't know. I kind of feel like let's just let Russell and DeBinion take over, because I don't know that Jaquindon, if you feel like he's healthy enough to get more than about 5 carries a game. I also didn't like what they did against LSU, where it felt like they just didn't bother running the ball. What was it, 19 carries against LSU? We'll go over that here in a minute. Anyways, make sure you guys take the poll. Again, not so good is now taking the lead. Arkansas offense so far, not so good. 37% is really close. Or bad, actually, at 37% is really close. Static J says, hey, big guy. Love your show. We will lose against Mississippi State if we play like we did against LSU last Saturday. Woo Pixui always. You don't win another game if you play like you did against LSU. Now, to be fair, LSU is going to make teams look that bad. They're playing really good ball. They really are. They're playing a really high level of ball right now. They're playing really well. You can argue they maybe turned the corner. Maybe they should be rated higher. I don't know. Good for them. Good for them. We're so happy for you. I can't wait for basketball season. Keep that energy. 19 for 38, says Bobby Shiz. Yeah, just terrible. Anyways, I don't remember the original take that I had or where I was going, but it's something. We're gonna talk more about Arkansas and LSU. We're gonna do a postmortem on that game. A lot to say about it. Again, don't forget Courtney Mims will be here on Wednesday. Don't forget to sign up for Tusk Talk Patreon. I feel like with some of you, we have a legendary status. I feel like with some of you, I'm gonna have to make a super duper legendary status. You guys are crushing it, man. I appreciate that. Let me share the Patreon link for you there. Boom, right there's the Patreon link. If you guys want to join, that would be excellent. That'd be awesome. With other teams starting to drop their coaches and the carousel finally spinning, if Arkansas loses next week, how likely do you think it is Sam gets let go? He will not be fired after Mississippi State if he loses. Louisiana Tech's a different argument, right? That's a different – but I don't think he'd be fired. I don't think he'd be fired after Mississippi State. I don't. Even if Mississippi State won easily, if they won like 35-7, which could happen. I mean, let's be real. I just don't. I just hate to say it, man. I even though, listen, I'm not on the 6-6 bandwagon necessarily. That's his line, right? That'll keep his job going 6-6. I guess it depends on how that unfolds. We've said it before, and I said this to someone in my comments from Saturday night's postgame. You understand? No. I think it was we have a poll up, actually. If you guys go take the poll, it's who's going to be the coach next year, I think. And we have Sam Pitman, Rhett Lashley, Barry Odom, and then someone else, right? For you to post your who you think that coach might be. It's not saying that will happen, that it will for sure happen, but you never know. But I said to someone, yeah, you see maybe the benefits of keeping Petrino and Green and everybody intact for another year. This is an offense that it's not a click and pull or I don't know. It's not a hit enter button kind of offense where you just throw somebody in and it works, right? It's like you just smash your keyboard and it just works. It's gonna take a little while. It takes. We're seeing Green get better as the season goes on. We're seeing Green throw the ball better, no doubt about it. I think if you watched closely, if you go back and rewatch, I have not finished rewatching this game. It's just such a head shake. I watched part of the first quarter. I'm not even going to lie to you. I watched just enough. No, I got into about the second quarter. I watched just enough to see some of his throws, and they were great. They really were. They were on point. I think I only saw 2 that looked a little bit behind. He's delivering the ball cleaner, better. Tight coverage throws. He's getting them there. He's getting them right into the hands of the receiver. That's good to see. Broden targeted 4 times. He came away with 3 catches. Part of that's because Green's throwing him a pretty catchable ball. Not that he hasn't. I would say most of Broden's targets have been catchable, by the way. But I see that. I see the benefit of keeping if he gets to 6. And I know that's going to be Hunter Yurchek's take. This is a 2-year thing. It always was a 2-year thing. I can already hear it. I can already hear Hunter Yurchek talking right now to the media. Well, it was always a 2-year deal when you bring Petrino in with a new quarterback. I can hear it. Please, if that happens, come back to this moment, clip it, and share it with the world. If I forget, please do it. Because I could just hear it in my head that's how they're going to spin it. But then there's the matter of, does Pitman deserve it? Is 6-6 deserving enough to come back? That's the question nobody's really asking. 6 years? Guys, 4 years now is a lifetime in college football thanks to the portal. Didn't used to be that way. You used to have to build a team up, and it would take 2-3 years because of all that recruiting and building up and getting those freshmen some meaningful snaps and getting them going and developing them in the offseason, the strength conditioning from June to July, whatever. Then fall camp, that rigorous process of building a program, developing talent, upgrading whatever you can around you, maybe facilities, whatever. Kind of like what Barry Odom's doing at UNLV right now. That's how you do it. And that used to be the case. It takes a few years to get there. Remember when Brett was hired? That's all we heard. It's going to take about 3 years. That's not the case anymore, especially when you're in a Power 3 conference, when you're at a school like Arkansas, even though they've mostly sucked the last decade. It's still a school you look at and you go, all right, you should be good enough that you go on the road and you beat a stanky Oklahoma State team. By the way, Oklahoma State is 0-for in conference play. I called it. I called it after that game. 50-50. I said they'll probably win games because they're in the Big 12, but they're not impressive to me. That's not a game that was very impressive to watch. Don't think that highly of them. And guess what? Now I might be wrong. They might not even make a bowl game. And Arkansas lost that game. It's just so frustrating. Anyways, it shouldn't. 4 years is a lifetime now, guys. 3 years is plenty of time. 2 years is you kind of get it. In 2 years, we saw Sam deliver a far better product. Right? From 20 to 21, you saw this upwards momentum shift in Arkansas athletics or Arkansas football. And then since then, it's just been a steady decline. So I don't know. Does he deserve 6 years after just going 6-6, 10 wins in 2 years, 10 total wins in 2 years? I don't think so. I don't think so, but that's just me. Again, I see the benefit, and I get it. Petrino coming back. Let's talk about coach firings really quick. Southern Miss fires their head coach. Will Hall is out at Southern Miss. Pretty sure that's the first head coaching fire. I could be wrong. Southern Miss is currently 1-6. Oklahoma fires their offensive coordinator, Seth Luttrell. I'm a little bit surprised at how bad their offense really is. Man, you talk about that's a bad offense, really. But they've been bad versus no matter who they play. That's not been the case for Arkansas. That has not been the case. Oklahoma has been stanky. We've been building a 4-year program for the last 12, says David Smith. Oh, man. Our offense last 3 games, 17, 19, 10. That equals trash. Megan says, sleepy but still listening. Okay. I hope I'm not boring you to death. Megan, Arkansas Festus says Green is the best quarterback for losing rushing yards, says Arkansas Festus. Let's take a look at this poll here. 51% not so good. 30% of you say, and I'm curious if any of you change after what I'm about to tell you here in a little bit. Some of you have already kind of, you're getting there. Do you think anything will come of the officiating crew from last Saturday? The officiating was atrocious, especially on the targeting, but not targeting calls, says Devon Anderson. Oh, that was bad, wasn't it? Wasn't that bad? Was anyone else bitching about that, by the way? I haven't watched anything. I've not. You know what? I didn't even listen to Chuck and Bo this morning. I wanted to, but my kids are out of school until Wednesday, so I didn't get up early enough to listen to them. I mean, I did, but it would have been like at the tail end of the show. I haven't listened to any Arkansas media. I'm curious what anyone was saying about that because to me it felt very clear that was targeting. I don't know how it wasn't. We can go back to the PI stuff. And it's funny, you had LSU fans telling us to stop complaining about the officiating when that early on in the game, and when those moments happen, they could have been huge momentum swings for Arkansas. I don't know how much it would have mattered. I'm certainly not going to claim, had the officiating been better, that Arkansas wins that game. I certainly believe it would have been more competitive. Do I think anything will come from the officiating crew? No. In fact, the SEC officiating has been known to, every once in a while, they'll take to SEC, or they'll take to Twitter. They'll take to Twitter and they'll release a statement. I don't know that they did. Did they? And I'm not just talking about the Arkansas game. They do have okay, I didn't see this. They have a statement from SEC regarding officiating decision in the Georgia-Texas game. That was yesterday, and that's the only one they've released. Another rules review back on the 11th. Nah, just my grandmother's self. Tired once the sun sets. It's that time of year, though. At least down here, anyways. Our Megan is from Canada, but she's a Hog fan. God bless her. Hog fan up in Canada. The Florida officiating crew always screws us, says Donovan Irish. It's like in their mission statement. Might be. Yeah, I thought that targeted call. I don't know how much more clear that could have been. The PI call that should have been called, and I don't know. Let's talk about injuries here. After the LSU game, let's get a little bit of an update. Jaquindon Jackson likely to not play versus Mississippi State. Sam said he's been beat up basically in SEC play. We haven't rushed the ball well. He's been beat up a little bit there. Early in the year, he was exceptional when he was healthy. His health status is probably very questionable. I mean, okay, just say it. He's not going to play for Saturday's game, but he's been a strong guy for us, and hopefully we can get him back. But I would say it's questionable this week. And then with Braxton, he was asked just kind of what his availability would look like. Pitman says, I don't think he'll be available, not the rest of the year, but I think it would be at least until after the second bye week. That's big. Jaquindon being banged up is big, because let's not act like Jaquindon wasn't ripping people up when he was healthy. That's a big one. And him not being available for Mississippi State with that atrocious run defense, you'd love to have him healthy and ready to go, especially with some of the changes we've seen up front on the offensive line. But Braxton, and it's, again, you could, again, go back and watch this game, and you'll see why someone like Braxton could have had a little bit of an impact. Your best cover corner. You can see what kind of impact he could have on a game. And the fact that now they're talking about the second bye week, it's almost like with Pitman, that feels almost like he's probably not going to play. So Braxton might be getting that red shirt. We'll see what happens with that. But, yeah, Jaquindon Jackson, again, likely not to play. And then Braxton out until at least after the second bye week. Again, make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. I'd greatly appreciate it. If you've got a question or comment and you're listening over on ASA and Arkansas Sports Network Facebook, feel free to fire a question away there as well. Also, make sure you come on over to Tusk Talk with Ty YouTube, and slap that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Kelly Williams says frustrating, sums it up. Which part? Talking about the offense or Arkansas football in general? Ty, did the almighty T-Will get served some smoke finally? Game plan went to shit. Again, to be fair, this is not a rookie quarterback. This is not nuts. He's going to do that to a lot of teams. But yeah, they I think the T-Will for President fan club kind of got dealt a little bit of a blow. They'll move the goalpost a little bit. Well, I like T-Will. I'll say that every time he comes up. Like the guy a lot. Got a good staff around him, good people around him. His players love him. As far as I can tell, I think the players like the staff. Now, we know that there was all sorts of drama last year, but sometimes when you get there's always two sides to a story. Just know that. But yeah, I think again, a lot of people telling me T. Will should be the next head coach, and I want to know on what basis, like why. We're not talking about what year was that when was it Rob Smith and Arkansas had that incredible defense, finished top 10 total defense, top I think 15 scoring defense. One of the better takeaway defenses in the SEC. What was that, 2014? You had one really good year on defense. So it's not all on T. Will. Like it's nothing new here. To have a complete defense is really challenging. It's hard to do. You really got to put together kind of what you can at Arkansas on the defensive side of the ball. They've had some fantastic offenses over the years. Defense has always been a question mark here. It's not easy. I think he's done a really good job considering the circumstances. However, no, he should not be the next head coach. And if you believe that, please tell me why. What am I missing? What am I missing? And by the way, it takes more than just, oh, well, he did all right. He pulled, he got so-and-so out of the portal. Or they're really good in this particular category. It takes more than that, man. And it seems like when his defense, most of the time this year when they're called into question or when their backs are against the wall, they have held opponents to field goals and gotten out of those situations. But they're still, LSU, it was very easy. They were just taking what Arkansas was giving them. I like how Pitman pointed out the hitch routes. I mean, you knew what was coming, and they couldn't stop it. They did adjust to the run pretty well, though. I'll give them that. And I'm not – listen, again, you know how I feel about this. Just because I'm going to put you on a pedestal one week doesn't mean that I'm not going to criticize you. I absolutely will. But overall, I think considering the circumstances, he's done a pretty good job. Let's face it, boys, we're a basketball school now. It says Aiden does games. Yeah. Arkansas offense is cheeks. I don't think this offense is any good. And we've already kind of pointed it out in chat a little bit. They got a problem. And I made a comment during the game. I think Arkansas had like 3 or 4 drives. And I said, well, they've scored on one drive, but you can't settle. To which someone reminded me, well, they've only been on the field 3 times. Yeah, no, you'll see what I mean. And what happened, right? I mean, it got rough, right? The offense just struggled. Let me get through this. In conference play, the offense is scoring at an average of 17 points per game. That's not through 1, 2 games, 3 games. That's through 4 games. You see how bad Auburn is? Arkansas had 334 total yards of offense against Auburn. 379 versus A&M. 431, which was impressive. But how many points against Tennessee? 277. Again, we talk about T. Will. Sometimes you need your offense to help you out a little bit. They did good against Tennessee. That big opening drive was fantastic. 1,421 yards total offense. Divide that by 4. That's 355 total yards per game in just SEC play. Guys, this is bad. This is not good. Just the 17 points a game, which matters the most, more so than the yardage, is bad. I would argue the Arkansas offense so far has been bad, actually. That would be my vote. They've turned the ball over 8 times in those 4 SEC games and have only not turned the ball over once in SEC play, which was against Tennessee. Arkansas is ranked 109th in the country. 109th in the country. Again, help your boys out, offense. in the turnover margin, sitting at -5, which is currently second worst in the SEC. Now, that takes two to tango also. Your defense has to have the ability to get the ball away. Your defense has to take the ball away, and they have not done a very good job of that outside the Auburn game. By the way, Auburn is sitting at -10. That's the worst turnover ratio team, one of the worst in the country. Again, Arkansas is at 109th. That's offense and defense. I get it, but you're turning the ball over. We just said it 8 times in SEC play. That's 2 times a game. That's too much. That's too much. They're not good. The offense isn't good. Total offense, you're going to look and they're through the roof. Yeah, when you play UAPB, when you play a Big 12 team, even though it was on the road in Oklahoma State, you're going to be able to rack up some yards. You did have the Tennessee game, which was pretty impressive, 431. Just 277 versus LSU. And again, LSU's defense, again, we can continue to move that goalpost, I guess. Their defense is coming around. They're playing really, really good football as a team. Far better product on the field than what they had even just a couple of weeks ago, I would argue. But there's no excuse for just how bad this is. Outside of, I get it, first-year coordinator, right, at Arkansas. His first year here, Petrino, with a new quarterback who's not, his last name might be Green, but he's not. He's taking a lot of snaps, and it's just and now he's finally kind of coming around a little bit. But the offense is not helping the defense out. And I would argue, again, if there's anything, I would say the defense has been, I wouldn't even say a surprise, because I thought T. Will would do a good job this year. But T. Will, to me, is right now your best coordinator. And I say that kind of smiling because we thought it would be Petrino with that big IQ, that high offensive IQ mind that he has. And again, like I said earlier in the show, this is a 2-year deal. It is. But to be this bad, 17 points a game in SEC play through 4 games, no. Give me bad any day of the week. I think it's bad. I don't think that's good at all. Your yardage isn't even there. 355 anymore is like middle of the road. That's what everyone does. Everyone's putting up 350 yards of offense now. I can remember when that was like, wow, that's a pretty decent offense. They're putting up 350 yards. No, that's now the average. Things have changed. Everyone's running high, up-tempo RPO offenses that are getting, 30, 33 points a game, putting up 400 yards of – like everyone's doing that. Let's scroll up. Scrolling. How frustrating it was for him to watch what on tape? What are you talking about, Donovan? Terry Williams says, last Saturday night was just a night that everything just went wrong. That fluke interception, well, I wouldn't call it a fluke. Your offensive line missed an assignment, if I understood that correctly. Would only happen to us. The bye week didn't help. The bye week has helped them, though, Terry. The bye week, he's 3-0 coming out of bye weeks. Now, this year there's a bit of a curse for SEC teams coming out of the bye, but and Arkansas got bit as well. But that's just excuse making. To have that kind of rest and to put that kind of product out on the field, just not good. Kelly Williams says it starts with the O-line. Is weak another year with O-line position coach as our head coach. Never imagine not being strong in the trenches. Frustrating, and this is a program frustration. Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's fair. Again, shout out to ASN, Arkansas Sports Network. We're going to do the postmortem here in just a second. We got more to say on that for sure. Gary Davis has only got to run 50 offensive plays because the defense letting the LSU offense walk it down the field, running base plays. Yeah, well, you're not wrong there. Yeah, I think it was 51 total offensive snaps, I'm pretty sure. I think it's 51. We won thanks to our defense, not our offense. Are you talking about Tennessee? I don't know. Bobby Shiz says, exactly. When will people realize the offensive line has to be good consistently to move the ball? Hogs' O-line is not good. Well, you're not wrong. Again, make sure you guys like, share, subscribe. We're going to move into the LSU-Arkansas Postmortem. But I'll close on this about the talking about Arkansas's offense being bad. 1,400 yards in 4 games, 355, 17 points a game, all that stuff, turning the ball over as much as they do. It does start with the offensive line. It starts with the poor play up front. Taylor Green typically runs for his life every other snap. It's gotten a little bit better. I don't feel like he's as pressured as often. I will say that. We're gonna dive into more of that here in just a second. But first, we need to run this DSO ad really quick. So on the other end of this, we'll get into Arkansas and LSU postmortem. All right, there we go. All right, Arkansas, LSU, taking a look at this. I don't know if flat is the right word. We said that in the postgame show. I don't even know if that's the right word. It certainly felt like that team that was in on every snap, that had Tennessee locked down. As good as that offense can be, Tennessee's offense can certainly be potent. Arkansas just did not allow anything to happen. And yeah, that's a redshirt freshman quarterback they were playing versus Nussmeier, who's what, a fourth year? Is he a fourth year junior? But to get just slapped around at 34-10, losing by 24 points, they outgained you. Now, you didn't give up a ton of yards, but at the same time, you know, you kept putting them in good field position. They didn't need the yardage. Gave up 395 yards. Nussmeier was 24 of 35, 9 incompletions, nearly 7 yards per completion. They ran the ball for 160 yards at 4.4 yards per carry. And before we start completely blaming the officiating, and again, I think that was the vibe that LSU fans were getting from Hog fans and myself. Yeah, we forgot to mention, we probably should have mentioned, they did get hit with 11 penalties for 80 yards. They actually had more penalties and more total yardage in penalties. Arkansas had 7 for 78. Third down, they were 9 of 15. Fourth down, they were 0 for 1. Talking about LSU. 9 for 15 on third down. There's a lot we could look into here. Taylor Green was honestly not bad. I mean, yeah, his QBR was garbage. He threw a pick. But I mean, just looking at his numbers versus LSU, it was impressive. I mean, he's starting to, and you've noticed this since Tennessee, they're putting together, or Taylor Green rather, is throwing a cleaner ball. It's getting there. It's getting on target. He was 73% with a clean pocket versus LSU. By the way, on his dropbacks, he had a clean pocket according to PFF 70% of the time. He was pressured 11 times, so that's 40% he completes his throws on. That's not great, but you know what? Plenty of really good quarterbacks, they usually hover around, 50% here. You would want this to be better. He was 2 of 5. I'm sorry. He was actually hurried. I said that wrong. He was on 11 of the dropbacks he was hurried on. He was hurried out of he was 2 of 5. He was 40%. When blitzed, he threw the ball 62% completion. I mean, these numbers are just getting better and better no matter the opponent. Tennessee and LSU talent-wise are ahead of Arkansas. Better product on the field, you name it. And we're seeing Green with when he gets comfortable and he's confident, which Sam Pittman said as much. Look at his numbers. They start to climb a little bit just in terms of completion percentage. Yeah, you wish he threw the ball more than 239 yards, right? He had to scramble a little bit, not a lot. But I'm looking at 40% under pressure. We've seen that number drop as low as 32% this year. I think maybe even lower than that. He was only pressured 5 times though, but still 2 of 5. And when he was blitzed, he had 117 yards off 62% completion. Clean pocket, he was 218 yards. Play action, he was 3 of 4. I'm a little surprised they didn't utilize play action more, but then you understood LSU had such a good job. When your run game is ineffective, play action doesn't do much for you. But he's 75% out of play action, and they ran just one screen play. He's still doing well throwing the deep ball. 20 yards or more, he was 2 of 5, which is 40%. Listen, you're going to take that. You don't mind that. That's not a horrible number. Yeah, you would like more completions in that category, but he also only had 5 attempts. Off medium throws, which is 10 to 19 yards, he's 5 of 8, 63% there. And then off the 0 to 9 yard throws, he was 82%, 121 yards. That's been one of the biggest complaints about Taylor Green. He's not targeting the underneath throws. Well, he did. He did in this game. In fact, 17 times he threw the short ball. 17 of his throws were 0 to 9 yards. Again, he completes 82%, 121 yards. He did, however, that's where his pick came from. It was a short yardage situation. However, I don't know how we even really know that because, he was hit as soon as he was he had the ball in his hands and he cocked back to throw it and he started to get into his throwing motion. But he's hitting the left side of the field really well too. That is his preferred. If he's going to throw deep and if he's going to complete passes, it's that deep left throw that he's not afraid of it, which is outstanding for a guy that's right-handed and can run either to his left or to his right. When you're completing those deep left throws, that's a pretty good sign. He was 2 of 3, 66% on the deep lefts. There is hope here with this offense. There is. And yet, when you take away his ability to run, I don't know how much of that was just a hesitancy from Petrino. They didn't want him to get hurt. He's way more effective when you can get the run game going, either with him or his running backs or a mix of him and his running backs. And the more you go away from that, the less yardage, the less points. He's way more effective when you're using him to run the ball. He did a good job in the passing game for the most part. Again, yeah, you'd like his numbers to be a little better than 239 yards. You'd like to see him north of like 275, 280, maybe certainly more than just one score. Got to clean up the mistakes. Still, what was it, 8 flags, still too many. That's not on him. But this offense, and both sides of the ball, just seemed so out of it. Just didn't look, I don't know, as energized. And maybe that had more to do with LSU than it did anything. But teams have figured out how to slow this offense down, how to contain it. And it seems to me like the more you keep Green in a bubble, don't let him run. I think he had one decent run where he slid and he picked up a first down in this game. When you can contain him inside the pocket, let him try to beat you with his arm. He's not good enough yet. Again, these numbers are great. These are signs of hopefulness. But he's better when you can utilize his feet and his legs. Arkansas made some changes along the offensive line. We saw Keyshawn Blackstock, who's played right tackle. That's been his official position. He got 51 snaps at the left guard spot. How well did he do? Well, he gave up 3 pressures, a hurry, a hit, and a sack. Amarian Harris, who's typically been a left guard, he got right tackle snaps, 51 of them. How well did he do? According to PFF, 5 hurries. No sacks, but 5 hurries. Five rushes. He did not do well. PFF grades him out at 25.5 in pass block. Keyshawn Blackstock, 41.8. These two, especially Blackstock, have been red flags for this offensive line. Joshua Braun was great. He gave up just 1 hurry. Grades out at 75.3. Addison Nichols was fantastic at center. He grades out at 84.6. No sacks, no hurries, no nothing. Fernando Carmona, 72.9 pass block grade. No pressures, no sacks, no hits, no nothing. Arkansas altogether did give up 7 hurries and 1 sack. Kudus getting that opportunity back at the 2 spot's going to be big. I think you see a shift there. And maybe that's the answer for this offensive line. They could not set up blocks. They could not open up gaps. LSU was there. The run game was not near as effective as we thought it might be. 19 carries for 38 yards. That's 2 yards a carry, guys. That's horrible. Shout out to Andrew Armstrong again, who he got his first receiving touchdown of the season. 7 catches, 94 yards. Isaiah Centennial had 4 for 54. DeBinion 2 for 24. Broden catching 3 of 4 of his targets for 24 yards. Luke has 2 catches, 22 yards. And then Tesla 1 for 14. He's always good for that 1, 15, 17-yard catch, isn't he? He's good for one of those. And then after that, you won't see him again. Both the running backs were also targeted in the passing game. Jaquinton Jackson 1 for 7. Braylon Russell 1 for nothing. Make sure you guys like and share. I don't know, Ty. I think Kudus will be rustier than a Titanic nail. Well, I mean, maybe. But you got to figure something out. Kudus at times was he was kind of rushed out there playing the wrong position last year. I can tell you through camp, I thought it's hard to say with line of scrimmage play, but I kind of thought through camp that he could potentially be one of your better offensive linemen. I don't know, but I'm going to tell you this much. You got to figure it out because your left guard spot, moving Blackstock there was not it. You talk about rustier than a Titanic nail. I mean, Amarian Harris gets put out at right tackle, and he gives up 5 hurries. Blackstock gives up a sack. I mean, you got to do something. And maybe trying to get Kudus in there might be the answer. At least try to get him a series to see what he can do. If he doesn't, if it's no good, then I guess you go back to Blackstock at left guard. I don't know. This offense has so many issues, whether it's turnovers, penalties, just up front on the line of scrimmage, horrible blocking. Kind of crazy, isn't it? 5th-year head coach who's a offensive line guy. To be this bad on the offensive line, I don't know. And we talked about it coming out of spring camp and then coming out of fall camp. One of my questions was the lack of depth along the offensive line. The lack of depth with the interior defensive line, but the defensive line's kind of held their own. The offensive line has not. And here you are again. Really, it's about 3 straight years where you just have issues protecting your quarterback. Again, it does look like they are slowly getting better. It's not like Talon was running for his life like he had been before. LSU's really good at getting after the quarterback, by the way. They're really good at it. Got to figure something out. The season comes down to Mississippi State win, and these battered synonym fans will talk themselves into giving Pitt another year, says Sanders Price. Hero Blake says happy Monday. Yeah. Think T. Will and Bobby should speak to the media. Sam gets heat, then double heat by deflecting their heat. I would like to talk to the position coaches. Wouldn't that be good? I think that'd be good. I'd love to hear from them. Or, I'm sorry, the coordinators. LaShawn in says it's time for a new head coach and stuff as well. That's the problem. Okay. Gary Davis says a real oh well attitude by Pitman at his post-game presser. Did he even know that we just played a ball game? The team was lethargic, and it starts at the top. Well, I don't know. I'm told it's always the players. It's what I've heard. I mean, as much as I don't think Sam deserves another year, but another year with Petrino always has the potential to be special. Yeah, again, we talked about that earlier. It is a 2-year deal in this offense, but it's a question of, does he deserve another year? Is 6-6 deserving of another year? And holding on to a coach because you don't want to lose somebody, we talked about that in the postgame, that's asinine. That's crazy. Oh, we can't fire him because we don't want to lose T. Will. We don't want to lose Bobby. Man, if it ain't working, it ain't working. I mean, you've got to figure it out. Again, let's check out the poll. The Arkansas offense so far, 18%. I want to know from the 18% of the folks who voted good. Please tell me. Not so good's winning at 58%. Bad actually at 24%. Matt says, good thing Nick Saban will be here next year, right? Yeah. Can't fit a square peg in a round hole. Says you can't handle the truth. Ty, cut it straight. How do you really feel? What do you mean? I mean, I feel like I'm being pretty upfront. I'm not holding anything back. I mean, I'm telling you what I think, as I always do. We can't live in our fears. Well, and I think that's the concern, is that Chad Morris beat people up so bad, and I think that's the case with a certain, maybe one or two of my mods in Discord. They're so fearful that you're going to get another Chad Morris that it's hard to see that Chad Morris and Jack Crow are the exception to the rule. I mean, Houston Nutt was a great hire behind Danny Ford. I mean, Danny Ford, got you to an SEC championship only to get blown out by Florida. But you walk into Houston Nutt, and that was a pretty good – I think that worked out for the most part. I mean, everyone was ready to move on because why? You were tired of 8 wins a year, 7 and 8 wins a year. You were tired of that. So then you go on to Bobby Petrino, and look how that turned out. Brett Bielema definitely under-delivered. I get it. But I think there's this fear that if you do walk away from Pitman, I was told better the devil you know, someone said in Discord. I don't think he's in chat, but he knows who he is. To me, that's absurd. You don't give someone a 6th year out of fear that you walk into another Chad Morris or Jack Crow for the OGs. That's just absurd. Eventually, you have to make the change. You cannot let fear guide your program's future. They're not getting it done. Now, I'm not calling for anyone to be fired. If you lose to Mississippi State, then what is left on the table? If you lose to Mississippi State, Louisiana Tech, you're most likely going to finish 2-6 in conference play, and you're telling me that's okay? No, you got to bring them back at 5. Anywhere else that gets you fired under the same set of circumstances. I'm talking about the previous 4 years before this year, what we've seen, it gets you fired, man. I mean, just period. But again, what's the craziest thing about this is we know that this team does have it in them to win 6 or more games. But with the crazy lack of consistency, that won't happen. I don't think it will. I mean, I listen. I've still got them at 6 wins. That was my post-fall camp prediction. I believe was 6-6. Definitely didn't see. I wasn't so sure about Tennessee, but I thought they would beat Oklahoma State. I was wrong. But they're on the path to 6-6, and again, it's about whether or not he deserves a 6th year, and I don't know. We'll have Courtney on Wednesday. Courtney Mims will be joining us. We'll get her opinion on the matter. Again, please make sure you guys like, share, subscribe. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button. Check out Patreon. I'd really appreciate that. You guys continue to ask the questions, and I'll do my best to answer them to the best of my ability anyways. We're probably going to have Courtney Mims as a call-in show. I'm going to talk with her about that first. There's the link to Patreon if you want to join. Mike and them says, instead of Chad Morris, what if you walk into a Lashley or Signetti? The problem is we still have a hard time knowing what's really going on with the NIL. But the problem is really, and again, it is that who are you going to get factor, right? How attractive at this point, Lashley's going to be a hot commodity. Okay? He's going to be a hot commodity, and no, you're not offering it's just yes, his connections to Springdale and Arkansas are going to have it. Of course, they're going to play a role, but you're going after Rhett Lashley because of what he's done at SMU, because of what he's accomplished as a coordinator, and because of what he's actually accomplished as a head coach. However, I don't know that that's going to happen because I think some people cannot separate SMU and Chad Morris. They can't do it. They don't want to get burned again. You're going to look really bad if you get burned again by another former SMU head coach, right? If you bring Rhett and then it falls apart and it's not a good fit. I think it'd be a good fit, but I don't know. Who knows? He would not be my number one choice. Rhett Lashley would not be my number one choice, but he would be on my short list. Their value might be they're going to be hot commodities. You won't be the only school going after those guys. Just about anyone you name, versus, you go back to after Petrino was fired, you were attractive enough to bring in a guy that had been to 3 straight Rose Bowls at Wisconsin in a Power 5 conference at Wisconsin. You pulled him out of Wisconsin. Yeah. You were once upon a time ago still a pretty attractive job, but think about what happened in 2012. So you can get to that point again where you're an attractive job. Say what you want about how things went at Atlanta for Bobby. Yeah, he won it out. But you still were able to lure Bobby Petrino here. He's not going to take just any job. No, I know things are pretty bad at Atlanta, but Camo says Lashley's Pelfrey 2.0 there. See, Camo, and that's the stuff. How do you know that? What was Pelfrey doing before he took the job at Arkansas, Camo? And by the way, you're talking apples and oranges with basketball and football. But he beat a top 5 team if you're talking about Pitt. Well, Tennessee's a good football team. And again, that comes down to the game planning and the defense. We've talked about that a lot. Camo gets on these live shows and just starts yapping. That's wild. Comparing Lashley and Pelfrey. That's wild. What coaches will look at Arkansas right now if Sam Pittman gets fired? I mean, LaShawn, are you asking that like, why would a coach take this job because they fired Pittman? Or are you saying like, okay, assuming that happens, what coaches would take a look at this job? Because I don't know the answer to that second part. I have no idea who would be interested. Now, if you're saying why would anybody take this job after firing Pittman, like, as if you're giving Pittman some kind of mistreatment, he's been here for 5 years. That was a comment again made, I think, in Discord. I think it was who was it? I think it was another one of my mods. I think it was Paul, who said if you fire Pitman this year, I'd have to go back and reread how he wrote that. But it read to me like as though Pitman was being mistreated by being fired after a 5th season. Paul, I apologize if I'm whiffing on that. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure he will. He doesn't have very many. He's got good takes. Most of the mods, I think, do. I think they have good takes in Discord. But then every once in a while, there's this little nugget. And I'm told my comments are asinine. Please. That sounds like Paul says, Matt. I think it was Paul. And he does. He sees the good in people. He does. Paul's a good dude. He's a good cat. I think all my mods are good. They're good peoples. That's why they're mods. Meanwhile, Bielema has Illinois at 5-1. They're coming back down to earth at Oregon next week, though. Yeah, and to be fair, Brett Bielema is a Big Ten guy through and through. He just fits there. It's just a good fit, period. It's just one of those things, right? Big Ten coaches can come down here and have success. We've seen a couple of them do that, but it feels like we're just staying together for the kids, trying to hold on to the coordinators. That's a really, really good way of putting that. Lance, that's actually a really good way of putting it. It feels like we're just staying together for the kids. Really good Blink-182 song. Stay Together for the Kids. It's a good song. Go listen to it. If you're on Spotify or Apple Music, it's a good song. Yeah, you're not wrong. It does feel that way, and I think that's silly. It's like when Mike was fired, and I was told, well, you can't do that because of all these recruits. You can't let recruiting hold you hostage for a coach that needs to hit the road. 5 years, even before the portal was decision time for a head coach. Oh, yeah. I mean, at some schools it was less, right? I mean, it still is that way. Some schools it's still less. I don't think Hunter Yurchek does another experiment higher, but Kevin Kelly from Sheridan and Pulaski Academy. 9, yeah. I mean, Gus Malzahn was brought on as what? As an offensive coordinator. And then he went on to Tulsa as a co-offensive coordinator, if I remember right. You're not going to see an Arkansas high school head coach. I mean, those are good. You're not wrong. Those are great coaches. It's time for a new stepdaddy. So Arkansas is in a very interesting place with this coming out of this game. It does speak to, and I was going to bring up Arkansas's new ceiling. However, I might wait until Friday to talk about that. But this game is huge. And we're going to get into that on Thursday. Hell, we'll get into it with Courtney Mims, I'm sure, on Wednesday night. Again, make sure you're there, 6 p.m. I plan on it being a call-in show, but I'm gonna ask her first how she feels about it. She may not want to. Most of our callers are pretty, stable. Oh, man. What other program has a 5th-year coach with Pittman's record? Well, I mean, what's his conference record? 13-24? Is that right? I mean, dude. Have you watched what Kelly does? Yeah, yeah. His quarterbacks are statues. Hell no, as a college coach, says Bobby Shiz. I'm saying he needs to be fired, but what coach will come to Arkansas? Well, I mean, that's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. I just don't. I don't know the answer to that. I have no idea. I don't. But we will talk about this Arkansas-Mississippi State game. By the way, Ole Miss, I don't know why this was public information, or why they blasted this, but we know that Ole Miss is going to be a flex, so either 11 or 11:45 for Ole Miss. We knew that already. So Mississippi State's 11:45. Ole Miss is 11 or 11:45. I kind of hope it's an 11. Texas will be an 11 o'clock. So you got 3 straight of course, you got the bye week. After Ole Miss, you don't play again until November 16th. God, that feels long. And then Louisiana Tech the following weekend. We have a TBA on that game. I'm assuming that's going to be another either 11 or 2:30 kickoff. And then at Missouri will be either the afternoon, 2:30 or 3:30 kickoff on November 30th. So, again, this Mississippi State game, going to talk about it with Courtney Mims, just kind of where she's at with it. I know where I'm at with it, and I think you'll probably agree. Let's finish off this poll. Arkansas offense so far, 60% of you say not so good. 60% of you say not so good, Ty. And then 22% of you, I agree, bad, actually. I don't think it's good. I don't know how you justify 17 points a game. Your defense has done a pretty good job of, up until the LSU game, has done a pretty good job of trying to get you decent field position. It's not like you're always starting behind your 10. I don't know. I would argue it's bad, actually. That would be my vote. But, again, make sure you take the poll here really quick. And on your way out, make sure you guys like, share, subscribe. Before we go, again, I want to remind you guys, thanks for all the shares on social media. I appreciate that. We have our Patreon cards, although my wife did a fantastic job in my studio room. Shout out to her. We're trying to make room. She installed what do you call those things? The stand that your TV goes on, but it like connects and you could move it around. She installed that. She made a whole bunch of room in here. However, she moved my cards. I was going to show you guys the cards. If you sign up for legendary status, I don't know where she put them. So, oh boy, I get to go looking around for those after this show. But yeah, sign up for Patreon, legendary status. You get a shot at one of the 3 autographed cards. I think it's Mason Jones, Patrick Beverly, and Kobe Hamilton. So sign up for that. Check it out. Yeah. Go look at that. We're gonna get into basketball. Probably, I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking about it a little bit on Wednesday and Friday, and we're starting to it's go time, baby. I'm so ready for basketball. Listen, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I think we all kind of knew that this season would kind of play out as it's playing out because, again, Sam Pittman is who he is as a head coach, okay? You're going to get a win you shouldn't win. Maybe that's just Tennessee this year. I don't know. And I mistakenly said that it was your Florida game when really, you only won one conference game last year. I guess technically Auburn would be your Florida game because you won that game on the road, I guess, and they were bad like Florida a year ago. But Tennessee is absolutely, it's bought him time. We're having a completely different conversation right now if he had lost to Tennessee. All the people in Discord, across social media who keep saying Sam's not going to lose his job, they're only saying that because of the Tennessee win. Make no mistake about it. You take that, if that's an L, if you lose that game, guys, we are having a completely different conversation. But he won. So at the end of the day, he did win that game, and it bought him some time. So we'll get into some more of this stuff. Arkansas versus Kansas on Friday. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Arkansas and Kansas, we do need to talk. Why did I think that was next week? I had that in my head. Yeah, it is the 25th. You're right. God, I was thinking that was next week. Man, this is my get right week on basketball. We're gonna have to do some number crunching this week on basketball. But I you guys know how I feel about this roster. But I think it's pretty damn good. I think it's one of the top 12, top 10 rosters in college basketball with a Hall of Fame head coach. Anything's possible. But, yeah, the charity exhibition sponsored by CareSource is October 25th. And apparently it's on SEC Network, so we will be doing a post-game for the Arkansas versus Kansas game. I'm wondering what they're going to do about who they're going to play personnel-wise. But we will be doing – I think the plan is right now. I know it's – I don't know why I was thinking that was a week from Friday, but yeah, our plan is we're going to do a post game for that. And then after that, November 1st, you got another charity exhibition game, which will be in Fort Worth at Dickies Arena against TCU. And then you start off against Lipscomb. I mean, guys, it's here. Basketball's here. And I'm behind. I'm telling you, I need to pay a producer or something. But anyways, appreciate you. We'll be back on Wednesday. Courtney Mims. Yeah, I'm gonna have to come up with some basketball questions for her. But yeah, I appreciate you. Again, like, share, subscribe on your way out. And I'll see you Wednesday night. Be good.
No.